need to see my laundry hanging up here.
Mr. Mayor, we're good to go now at any time.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Special Committee of the Whole for February 9, 2021, acknowledging that we're meeting this afternoon on the traditional territory of the Squamish Nation. I call the meeting to order, the time being on my watch, and about 3:04 p.m. And we only have one item on the agenda, so I would call for approval of the agenda. Councillor Kroll, Councillor Diendrad, thank you. All in favor of approval? Thank you very much. And we'll go directly to reports. And first of all, I'll have a motion to receive the report. Councillor Kroll, thank you. Councillor Ladwig, thank you. And now we're all on the record, so all in favor? Thank you. Receipt. Thank you very much. And so Katie Thomas, planner, over to you to present the report. And this is on the reviewing the notification procedure for OCP zoning amendments, development variance permits, and temporary use permits. Katie, are you with us?
I am, thank you. I'm just going to share my screen.
Thank you.
Bring up a my PowerPoint. Okay, so in June last year, Council made a resolution that was for staff to bring forward a report outlining the implications of increasing notifications to 100 meters. The Local Government Act outlines the types of development applications that require public notification, and there are 4 types. You've got your official community plan amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, temporary use permits, and your development variance permits. Now, each one of them has either newspaper requirements or notice for a letter to be sent out. The Local Government Act does not speak to a radius for notifying property owners, but it does speak to notifying parcels within a distance specified by bylaw. And so this is where the Town of Gibsons Development Application Procedures Bylaw number 1166 comes in. So currently, under Section 7 of the Procedures Bylaw, the Planning Department delivers notice to all owners and tenants within 50 meters of the subject property for all 4 application types. So when we're looking at the radius of a subject property, we notify every parcel that touches that 50-meter radius. So this would mean that if the buffer only reaches a small corner of a parcel, we would notify every property owner or tenant on that parcel. So this snip shows the 50-meter and 100-meter buffer for the subject property at 741 Hillcrest, which you'll remember was a recent application. Now, the buffer touches 48 parcels in that 50-meter radius, and we would notify 59 individuals because we would notify the property owners, and if they live outside of the town of Gibsons, we would notify the house as well, the civic address as well, so the tenant. So if we were to increase that buffer to 100 meters, we would be notified, 94 parcels have been identified in that radius, and then 124 individuals would be notified. So when we look at table 1 in my report, which reviews the number of parcels within a 50-meter versus a 100-meter radius of the subject property, the majority of the parcels doubles, and so does the number of individuals that we would notify. When we're looking at costs, they can be broken down into 2 items, materials and then staff time. So in terms of materials, you've got your printing costs, your envelopes, and your postage, and that approximately is about $1 per letter. Then staff time can be broken down into the following. You've got your drafting of your letters, the collating of addresses, stuffing of envelopes, mailing or hand delivery of notices, and then lastly, the answering and collating of responses to present to council. So staff time, it takes approximately 2 hours to collate those addresses and stuff those envelopes. And then hand delivery, of course, impacts time considerably. So often an hour or 2 is added depending on where the subject property is located. So hand delivery of notices is required for letters to occupants within 500 meters of the Gibsons post office, and those affected properties are shown on this map here. So if we consider that increasing the radius to 100 meters doubles the number of parcels, we can make a fair assumption that costs for notifications would double too. So when we take this into account, we need to consider whether the application fee for these development applications covers both the increased notification as well as the staff time to process the application. We looked at some other local government notification procedures, and the table 2, which I've put up here too, shows that the majority of bylaws provide for a 100-meter notification distance, especially for your OCP and zoning and your temporary use permits. But 6 out of the 11 have a decreased distance for your DVPs. Now, we do note that the properties in the town of Gibsons are more dense than, say, regional district properties, and therefore the SCRD, for instance, has a larger radius, but it actually captures fewer parcels. Another interesting notification procedure methods that we've noted is that there's a requirement for a neighbourhood public meeting for OCP and zoning amendments for Campbell River. You can see right here. And then Squamish also has a requirement for a notification sign for all types of development application right here. So with consideration of the added costs for mail-outs, staff recommend retaining that 50-meter notification distance for development applications, but we do think that public notification could be improved with a new sign requirement that notifies the public of the application. It would provide information on the application type, the proposal, the applicant, and then where to find more information. This sign would be quite similar to the building permit notification sign, and it would be displayed on the property's street frontage for passers-by to view. We've added a little example here with a QR code, which we could use so that people could go directly to the current development applications webpage, which is on the town's website, and you can find the application and any related material. This proposed signage would provide an additional opportunity to inform the most affected of the application submission, and includes people that may reside outside of that notification area, providing information prior to the application coming forward to council rather than once it's already got to council. So we have 3 options for you to consider. So once council has decided which option it would prefer to move forward with, staff would then prepare an amendment if needed for consideration. I'll stop my share right now and you can discuss.
Thank you, Katie. And I have a question before we discuss. I'm just looking forward to the report to see if I had missed it. And that is in terms of the town of Gibsons on the OCP or zoning or temporary use permit, what is our radius there for notification?
So currently our notification radius for all application types is 50 meters.
Okay, so we're 50 meters for all 4 of those different types of applications. Okay, I have my thoughts on this, but I'll go to the rest of council. Does council have any thoughts? Councillor Crowell?
Thank you, Mayor Beamish, and thank you for the report, Planner Thomas. On your cost of $1 per mailed notification, that strikes me as being a little low when you look at cost of envelopes, cost of printing paper, cost of photocopying, time in preparing the document, and postage. Like, does the town get a special rate on postage? Because the current postage rates are for local mail are like $1, almost $1 a piece, unless you're buying bulk postage.
I can answer that. So we our postage for local is 82 cents. So when we have printing costs and then we have our envelopes, it comes to about $1.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor DeAndrea?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I appreciate the report, the detailed. I think it was good considering costs. I love the idea of the ad because obviously increase awareness, right? I mean, not everybody follows the newspaper. I think one thing that I would like to see, perhaps in the future, it's really a survey from the community, because when it comes to OCP, it's a change in neighborhood, OCP or zoning, and it impacts the neighborhood. It might impact not only the people in the 50 radius. So obviously, I consider the cost. It's a good rationale, but and I would support right now the 50 meters with the advertise. But I think I would like, if it's possible, next survey we do with the community to have this kind of questions, because I think this is an important dialogue we should maintain with the community. And if I may ask a question regarding what's the size of this advertise? How big it is?
So do you mean the on-site notification sign?
Yeah, the notification to be posted in front of the development.
Okay, so for an OCP and a zoning amendment, there's already something in our bylaw, and I think it's 3 feet by 2 feet, so it's a large sign, and that's upon the developer has to pay for that, and it costs around $300 per sign. Now, what we're thinking of doing for DVPs and TUPs is to have a smaller sign, maybe 11 by 17, which is on a colored piece of paper and laminated, and that would be posted on the front of the property. So it would be right on the frontage, so that if anybody's walking by, they don't have to step into the property, but they can see the sign and they can see clearly what it's for. I should also just note that OCP, zoning, and TUPs all have a newspaper requirement. So we have to put that in the newspaper twice. And that's a statutory thing that we have to do.
Councilor Kroll.
Something that I wanted to say when I was previously, I particularly like the fact that you incorporated the QR reader block in the sign. Like even just taking a snapshot of the symbol, it took me directly to current development applications on the town's website. You know, with people moving towards technology, it just makes it, you know, rather than standing there trying to write something down or, you know, copy an email address, it just makes it so simple. So I think that's a really clever move.
Other thoughts, Council? I'll share my thoughts with you then. I actually believe that we should go 100 meters for the zoning, the TUP, and the OCP. And the reason for that is, and consistent with what Councilor DeAndrea said, we are actually changing the use of the property at those levels. And so that neighbors who are anticipating a one type of neighborhood or one type of activity in their neighborhood are now faced with a change in that. And I feel that they need to have greater consultation and notification. And I appreciate, we put it in the newspaper, we put a big sign up on the property, and that's important. The variance to me is quite different. A variance is normally there's setbacks, sometimes they're height, different things, but normally we take great pains to ensure that they don't impact the immediate neighbors of the property, and so that they're less intrusive in terms of their nature in most cases, so that I'm comfortable with the 50. I think the signage is a good improvement on that. Anybody walking by, anybody in the neighborhood will see that. And just almost like, you know, we're all familiar with seeing a building permit tacked to the telephone pole or to the fence or the gate of the project sort of thing. We know what that is, and know there's something going on in that property. But my sense is for the bigger changes require a bigger notice. And I'm very comfortable if we went to 100 for zoning, OCP, and temporary use permit, because even temporary use permit can attract quite a lot of travel and change, as we saw in the case of the sweet shop on Gibsons Way. That's a temporary use permit sort of thing. So that to me, it is a greater onus of responsibility for notice. Councillor Lumley?
Yeah, my opinion is that it doesn't really matter. Almost, I was almost going to say, well, you know, if the staff want to leave it 50, leave it at 50. I think like people are engaged, like in their neighborhood, or they're not engaged in their neighborhood. But my other question was the mailing. Like, is there something that, like, I mean, I don't know. It just seems so antiquated, you know, like we're mailing people notifications. Like, is there no way of is there any other way? I know we have a website and so on and so forth. And Councillor Crowell already said that, you know, the codes that could be placed on this, but that was my only thought. If the difference of making the decision was because you had to mail more people, it just seems kind of funny to me that like you're still mailing people, like we don't have their email address or some other form of contacting people in the town. So anyway, but it is what it is.
Katie, any response to that? I mean,
I can speak to the fact that we mail, just because well, one reason would be that the Local Government Act speaks to mailing, so we have to provide a notice by mail. I think it's for DVTPs especially, within a certain time frame of the application going for consideration. But we can look at emailing too, or having something on, you know, somewhere. But I think we do have a demographic that you know uses the mail as well as the internet, so we have to try and look at both sides there.
a good part of mailing too goes to people who may be owners but not resident owners, so that they may live elsewhere and they still require notification. Yeah. Anybody else? Well, you got 3 resolutions suggested on the paper. What would council do? I mean, I think one way, but I could be just as happy with status quo. But it is a common question that we receive, is that scope of notice that we give out, so that. And that's why I say when the change of use, I think the notice should be incumbent upon us to give bigger notice than simply a variance on the site sort of thing. So my view. Councillor Dindrad?
Yeah, Mayor, I would support your motion. I prefer even because like you addressing right immediately the neighborhood issue. I'm also open in the future to have this dialogue with the community, and you know, if the responses are really, well, 50 will be all right, then we can even change the bylaw again. But I would support if you make the motion, I'll second.
I looked at the table that's provided, and if you see there's a table on page 7. And if you look at it closely, you'll see that the person who on 635 Maplewood, for the same money fee that we charge them, we send out 25 notices within a 50-meter buffer and 50 letters or 34 letters. The one on Venture Way, for the same fee, we send out 76 notices and 91 letters. So that it, to me, increasing the number of notices we have to send out. If it was within, on the Maplewood one, if we increase it to 100-meter buffer, we're sending out 61 notices, still far short of what we did in Venture Way for 50. So to me, that's apples and oranges. we do charge a fee. We charge, go to the fee bylaw. We charge a fairly significant fee simply for that work sort of thing. So I'm comfortable that we're within range on all of those in terms of the dollar value. The fee bylaw for a development variance permit, for example, $1,000. We're charging people to send those letters and do the work for our staff, sort of thing. If you made it $1,200 for 100 meters, you'd be capturing a little bit more cost, but I'm not sure that's necessary. Councillor Ludwig?
I don't feel particularly strongly about this topic, to be honest. I'm happy at 50 meters. If you guys want to go to 100, that's fine. I mean, I kind of agree with Councillor Lumley. Nowadays, there's lots of ways for people to be engaged. And half the time I don't even check my mailbox for like, I check it once a month. It doesn't really matter to me. If you guys want to go to 100, go ahead. I miss these usually if it's in my inbox, but whatever. I'm easy either way.
Okay. Not hearing anybody else make a motion. And I will ask the question, Katie, of staff, is that am I complicating life too greatly by requesting to go 100 meters for OCP zoning and a temporary use permit and retaining 50 for a development variant permit?
We can work with whatever council want to do. So if that's what you like, then we'll work with that.
That's my motion. Do you have a seconder? Seconded by Council D'Andrade. Okay, further discussion? Corporate officer, you were.
No, I was just wondering if you wanted me to read back your motion as I have some wording.
Okay, go ahead, please.
And that council directs staff to draft an amendment to Development Application Procedures Bylaw number 1166 by increasing notifications to 100 meters for OCP amendments, zoning amendments, and temporary use permits, and retaining the 50-meter notification radius for DVP applications, with the addition of a notification sign provided by the town to be placed on site, providing information on the application type, proposal, applicant, and information on where to find more information.
That works for me. And I will say that if staff came back to us and had noticed a significant increase in cost and are doing that, we would look at adjusting the fee bylaw as well. But at this point in time, I think the fee bylaw is probably satisfactory. Councillor Lumley?
What are we going to do when Lindsay's gone?
We have Rebecca. Okay, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. And that's passed and approved. And thank you, staff, Katie, for that report. It was very helpful, extremely helpful to have the comparisons with the neighborhoods, communities rather, and extremely helpful to have all the level of detail that you provided. That helps us to make a better decision. So thank you very much for that. Moving on the agenda, we will go to number 4, which is inquiries. Is anybody in the audience? Did anybody watching us today? And does anybody have any inquiries?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'll ask anybody in the meeting as an attendee to please use the raise the hand feature found at the bottom of the screen, and we'll turn on your audio and video. And we do have one.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, hi, Mayor and Council. My name's Judy Bonkoff, and I live at 628 Glen Road in the Heritage Hills neighborhood.
Thank you.
And I'm just following this issue because I have asked questions before on it, and I have asked for 100 meters and radius because I feel it's important. I guess my question is, because you've already voted on this, I would have liked to have said something before you voted, but that being said, I'm asking, I guess, number one, why are the signs going to be so small on like 11 by 17 is not big enough if you're going to put them up for variances. I would like to see a bigger size. So how come they're only 11 by 17 on a little piece of laminated paper, probably like a building permit, I'm thinking. I'm asking, why can't they be bigger? And I know it's a cost thing. I understand it, but you don't have to even answer the question. That's one of the questions. And the second question is,
if I could just say this to that question, the building permit's 8.5 by 11. So it is larger paper.
a little bit bigger, but not much.
There you go.
Okay, my second thing is, the reason being, I guess, is I would wonder why neighborhoods don't get the same consideration that, say, an OCP or a bigger variance, say for a bigger development. In our neighborhood, setbacks are very important. We're on very small lots. So any setback or lack of thereof, or height thereof, it's a very tight little neighborhood where we are. So every little variance matters. And I think that a good size sign up where people are walking by every day can see it. Therefore, we're going to know what's happening in the neighborhood. I agree that letters probably are sort of archaic. There's got to be another way, but our neighborhoods are pretty tight, and we do care very much about what happens in them. So I'm saying that because I would ask why our neighborhoods are not as important as the other. And then I would ask why, I guess I've got right now, there's a fourplex that is proposed in our neighborhood, which is just by the real estate agent. It's not actually about anything else. There's no variance sign yet, but it's not even zoned fourplex. And yet it's already advertised as possible fourplex. And I'm telling you, if that's a 50 meter, that doesn't even go as far as my house, and it's on the same street. And it's only 1 block along my street. So I would all of a sudden, if I was sleeping at the switch, which I'm not, but most people are, they wouldn't even know that a fourplex all of a sudden was going to appear in their neighborhood. This isn't, to me, this isn't right.
But that wouldn't be a variance, for one thing. That would be an OCP or a zoning amendment to allow that, which would be the 100 meter rules, plus advertising in the paper, plus a big 3 foot by 3 foot sign. So that's if that was to happen. So that the in that sense, and that's so any change of use within the neighborhood would require an OCP zoning or a temporary use permit, and that would require a 100 meter notification plus signage plus newspaper advertising. Most variances, in my view, and I probably shouldn't be engaging this much on this, except there's nothing else on the agenda. Most variances are between neighbors. The setback between neighbors, and as long as the fire department looks at it and all those things, a lot of them are really making existing situations conforming, because I know with my own house up on Martin Road, I think on one side of my house, and I'm having a survey done on that property, literally is shoulder width apart. I have to walk sideways to walk between my house and what I believe is the property line. I'm not asking for a variance. It exists, but they're mostly between neighbors. And that's the difference between OCP and zoning and temporary use, is a neighborhood level issue as opposed to a neighbor to neighbor issue. And that I think is really the rationale there. So that's where I'm thinking. That's where my thinking is anyway.
Well, thank you very much, but I really, really disagree. I mean, I think our neighborhoods are really important as things move on, and what is accepted in a variance wouldn't necessarily be acceptable to a neighborhood. I can think of 3 right now in my immediate neighborhood, and I wasn't even consulted on because it wasn't within the 50 meters.
What kind of examples are you thinking about? What kind of
Well, I'm talking about setback. No, there's one that went up on Bowles Lane that literally, I mean, there's like, it doesn't have any setback for driveway, doesn't have, it's just encroaching on our, on regular land. It just looks out of place. It's wrong. And, then there's another one that was built, like, I forget, it's 5,000 square feet on a 50 by 100-foot lot. It's wrong too. And it got a variance, but nobody ever asked me about it. And that's probably within, I guess it's more than 50 meters. So these are all, crazy ideas. Somebody has passed it where they shouldn't have.
Well, yeah, immediate neighbors, I guess, didn't find an issue with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. So just thought I would comment.
Yeah.
And I'm just hoping to get bigger signs.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor. Nobody's raised their hand.
Okay, yeah. And sorry, Council, for being so conversational. As I say, I'm looking at my clock. Okay, that being said, we've got our next meeting is to be held on the 16th of February, and I'll remind Council that I won't be here for that. And Deputy Mayor Dean Drad will be looking at that. And motion to adjourn. Councilor Kroll, Councilor Dean Drad, thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you. And yeah, we'll see you in a few minutes. Take care. Thank you.